HAMAS uses the Russian 9M133 Kornet E anti-tank missile. In the offensive and defensive action of any armed troop, tanks and armored trucks are often the go-to machinery used for onslaughts on the battlefield. Any modern armored truck or tank can bamboozle through enemy attacks without as much as a dent in its body. However, as some people are designing these impenetrable shelled trucks and tanks, others are devising rather heavy-handed means of bypassing the near-invincible defense of these machines. This is where the almighty anti-tank missiles come through. These are special-grade missiles designed to not just dent armored trucks or tanks, but utterly destroy them with the destructive force of the payload loaded in each rocket and fired with deadly precision and at the speed of sound. Before we proceed, please hit the subscribe button to become a part of our community and watch more interesting videos like this one. The Kornet is one of the most powerful anti-tank missiles in existence at the moment. Many defense experts would argue it could be the best for their own reasons. You see, this weapon was originally designed in Russia. However, it has now found its way into the hands of militant groups Hamas and Hezbollah, who are known antagonists of the Israeli nation. The origin of these weapons sure would cast a bit of shade on the already dire situation that surrounds the Russian war with Ukraine. However, it appears that Russia is in no way involved with Hamas or any other group whatsoever, yet their weapons are in the hands of these forces. Reports suggest that the supply could have come from an occasionally of Russia in the form of Iran, who apparently have tons of Kornet rockets and are open supporters of the Hamas group. It makes sense as an explanation for how a local militant group managed to lay hold of what is the most advanced anti-tank rocket that the world has right now. It is not just some casual missile, it is a game changer and can turn the ride of any land battle in one launch. In the incursion against Israel, Hamas is, however, not the only organization to have used the Kornet. A report stated that the Lebanon-based Hezbollah organization had once launched several Kornet anti-tank missiles at Israel, and that has led to loss of lives and civilian vehicles. How many of these rockets they possess is unclear. However, it is best to admit just how powerful it is. The Kornet first existed in 1994 when the Russian government sought to replace the older Konkurs missile with a more effective one. They speculated that the missile should be able to penetrate any vehicle's armor up to 1,200 millimeters thick and can reach up to 5.5 kilometers in one launch. It also serves as a good weapon against low-flying aircraft that stick too slowly to the ground and are slow-moving. When it was produced, two variants were made: the 9M133-1, which has two tandem warheads, and the 9M133F1, which has a thermobaric, or, simply put, a fuel-air explosive warhead. The first use of these missiles in the Middle East was when Hezbollah fired them in the Second Lebanon War in 2006. During the fight, Kornet rockets struck many IDF armored vehicles, killing IDF soldiers stationed in structures in southern Lebanon. 8 years later, a similar event occurred in 2014 where Hamas, having gotten the same class of weapons, fired the Kornet missiles at IDF armored tanks and Namur armored personnel carriers. In this instance, there were no casualties, but definitely could have been if not for the Iron Dome's active defense system, which intercepted the missiles. The use of Kornet by both groups has been coming up for years now, and the targets are always military vehicles, and sometimes civilians, because bombs don't discriminate. Originally, the Russian guided anti-tank missile was known in the West as the AT-14 or Spriggan. It was quick to gain acclaim as the most terrifying missile in the world because it could go an extensive range to hit a target and hit it hard enough to destroy it. It far exceeds the capacity of the US's ATGM-148 Javelin, which has a maximum range of 2.5 kilometers for its devastating top-attack warhead, and the Kornet E has a maximum range of 5.5 kilometers. One thing the US enjoys is that the guidance system of the Javelin is more advanced, but the effect of the range far outperforms that of any other system. What is more scary about the Kornet is the size of its warhead. It is a powerful 152 mm in diameter. This feature was built to counter the threat posed by current tanks' explosive reactive armor. Hence, the weapon is in high demand across a wide range of countries, including those that had no primary interest in Russian technology. In terms of usage, the Kornet requires a two-man crew among the ground forces per missile, and depending on conditions, a single person can fire it as well. For the two-man arrangement, one man carries the launch tube equipped with a missile, while the second man carries the firing control system and day or night sight on an adjustable tripod. The Kornet was built to hide its operator, who could aim it while crouched or lying prone under cover. Because of this, the launch tube is located above the fire control system. The Kornet was first recorded engaging hostile forces in Iraq during the US-led invasion in 2003. Although there are no visuals to show it, the Iraqi Hornets were said to have disabled at least 2 M1A1 Abrams tanks and 1 M2 Bradley IFV. It was after seeing the amount of damage to the anti-tank missiles' efficiency that the U.S. directed their army to capture any Kornet samples for military intelligence examination. In 2006, we also saw the Kornet gain more attention when Israel invaded southern Lebanon. It was reported by the Israel Defense Forces that Hezbollah obtained Kornets from Syria and used them to destroy Israeli Merkava tanks. 7 years later, this same group also employed Russian-made ATGMs against IDF units in conditions that suggested Kornets were fired. Around this timeframe, the Ukrainian versus Russia conflict was gaining ground in 2014 with the sightings of used launch tubes printed with information identifying them as containing Russian Kornet missiles. In the aftermath of the conflict, Ukraine suffered catastrophic losses during the military battle, with hundreds of its armored vehicles destroyed by Russian and separatist forces employing RPGs, anti-tank missiles, and artillery. Other use cases include ongoing battles in Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. Kornets are used by both regime and opposition parties in Syria, and photographic evidence of their deployment is available online. Algeria, Eritrea, Greece, Iran, Iraq, India, Jordan, Kuwait, Morocco, Peru, Saudi Arabia, Serbia, Syria, Turkey, and the United Arab Emirates are among the Kornet's international customers. Russia is the sole source of production. The 9M133 Kornet EM is a 2012 enhanced model that destroys vehicles with explosive reactive armor. In place of a real fire and forget capability, its vehicle-mounted version is fitted with an automatic target tracker. Instead of manually adjusting the crosshairs throughout the missile's flight, the operator identifies a target once, and the computer tracks it as the missile approaches it until impact. Think of it as a grounded homing missile. New beam coding also enables a vehicle with dual launchers to attack two different targets at the same time, improving its rate of fire, reducing the number of vehicles required for a mission, and defeating vehicles equipped with an active protection system by salvo firing at one target. Because the system employs an auto-tracker, it can be effective against low-flying aerial threats such as helicopters and unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs. The Kornet EM was first used by the Russian Army, and Bahrain was its first export customer. It's also been shipped to Algeria. It is manufactured under license in Saudi Arabia. The Kornet's strong combat record reflects its expanding importance in modern warfare, where demolition ordnance for vehicles and structures and low-flying aircraft is desperately needed. The Kornet is finding a wider niche to show itself, as the Russian military adopts a new generation of armored fighting vehicles based on the Armata chassis. Kornet EM is an upgraded Kornet ATGM with an 8 or 10 kilometers range with a laser beam riding guidance system. There are two types of missiles. A typical anti-tank missile with a dual-heat warhead has an 8-kilometer range. It has a penetration depth of 1,100 to 1,300 millimeters behind ERA, or 3 to 3.5 meter of concrete. The second missile has an 8-kilometer range and a thermobaric warhead. The third missile has a 10 kilometers range and a burst fragmentation warhead. However, the Kornet EM is only available in vehicle-mounted form. Although weapons experts state that the Kornet M is a better version, this is because it comes in both man-portable and vehicle-mounted variants. It also has a better tripod launcher and sights, and is armed with the same missiles as the Kornet EM. It has been revealed that the Russian army ordered an unspecified quantity of these launchers and missiles. These developments are alarming, and the scope of war has definitely been redefined. And it remains to be seen what the next decade looks like for the world. See you in the next video.